Let's get to Pac-12 expansion because I think this is a massive story, and it truly is what we've been witnessing over the last, 2 years now in college football with expansion, contraction, the Pac-12 going out, now the Pac-12 trying to rebuild itself. And remember what we've talked about here. We are not talking about the Pac-12 conference trying to get back to a power status. We are simply talking about the Pac-12 trying to build itself and put itself in the best position to earn an automatic qualifier for the college football playoff. That was the goal from the beginning. We have had excellent sourcing on this. And if you follow me on Twitter, The Monty Show, Monty, The Monty Show, you saw the video I posted yesterday from 2 weeks ago when we reported that the AAC was going to close ranks. That was the biggest story, at least at the beginning of yesterday, when we had universities like USF, Tulane, and Memphis all saying we're out on Pac-12 expansion. And what I told you 2 weeks ago came to fruition yesterday. The AAC closed ranks, and they are working hard to sell their members on a position that says we are going to bring in private money. We are going to grow our ability to make money and generate new revenue. And that kept Memphis, as well as USF, as well as Tulane in the conference, at least for now. So as the AAC moves forward and looking for a new grant of rights that will lock those members in, now you put the Pac-12 in a position where they were twisting in the wind, because I am told by sources close to the situation, the Pac-12 believed that they had USF, Tulane, and Memphis to add to UNLV from the Mountain West Conference. That was going to be their 10, and that fell apart. And instantaneously, UNLV put the brakes on and then had committed to staying in an 8-team Mountain West Conference. Well, that was until scandal-ridden Utah State decided they were going to jump ship and join the Pac-12 in a move that, according to my sources, has most people across college football scratching their heads, because as we've reported in detail on this show, Utah State is in the middle of a significant Title IX scandal, which is being investigated by the Department of Justice, and they are being put on notice at Utah State and have gotten written notice from the Department of Justice that the DOJ is investigating Utah State for significant violations of the Title IX rules and regulations. And I bring that up not to darken anything at Utah State, but this is who the Pac-12 chose to add through the Mountain West Conference. The only university in that conference that would say yes also happens to be battling a Title IX investigation at the Department of Justice. Now, the reason you care about that is because in previous iterations of the Pac-12 charter, which we have read firsthand, there is a provision in that charter that says no new member can be added while under investigation. I guess that has changed because Utah State in big old Logan, Utah, is now a member of the Pac-12. And Jake, I think it's shocking. And really the question that I would ask is, does Utah State represent a step forward for the Pac-12?
No, I think it continues the trend of, hey, we're going to try to make the best out of what's left in the college football landscape. We're going to try and rebuild this conference, and we're going to try and, go and poach teams from these different group of 5 conferences. And we're just going to try to get the best that's available. And this has been my main concern for this situation and this effort since the beginning, which was, hey, there's not power conference talent available in terms of universities that would be interested in what you potentially have to offer or what you're selling. And so that means naturally you're going to have to go to the group of 5 and you're going to have to try to take the best available. And unfortunately, as we saw play out yesterday, and as we've seen this process move along, the value that you're offering just simply isn't good enough to pull people out of their current situations. And I think that, obviously there are some schools who have wanted to join the Pac-12 for years now. We know those schools, right? We know that the rumblings of Boise State trying to get into the Pac-12 has been going on for however long, right? San Diego State, and many others. But there are also schools where you're like, yeah, I'm not sure that Utah State really helps you if you're the Pac-12. I'm not sure that some of these brands help you or make this big impact to kind of get you to where you want to go. So my feeling is that this is just simply an effort to get to 10 teams. And then from there, you're going to play some football and try to put a TV contract together long term. And let's just kind of build this foundation. Let's build a level of reliability, and then we'll evaluate. And I think that's all this is. And it is shocking to me that you would want to add Utah State. But what other choice do you have?
Yeah, I think I was stunned by that, because we've heard from multiple sources and close to both conferences that Utah State was a pariah because of this. It is a sexual assault reporting scandal in the football department. I tweeted a link to the news story yesterday. I encourage you to go and read it, because the word shocking, I think, is exactly the right word. It is shocking that the Pac-12, who is run by people like Scott Barnes, who used to be the athletic director at Utah State, he's intimately familiar with that situation. And it is surprising to me that you would lower your bar to the point where a Title IX investigation centered on your football department, which has real teeth that can do real damage, that's who you're adding. That's who you chose to add.
Right.
And I think it speaks to the level of desperation of the Pac-12 to get above this marker of 8. And now we're in this situation where both the Mountain West and the Pac-12 are at 7 universities, which means you are not a full-fledged conference in the eyes of the NCAA, because you have to be at 8. And I think if you are the Mountain West, you have to do everything you can do to get UNLV to stay in the conference. And I think it is a very precarious situation. I have heard repeatedly from multiple sources just yesterday, if UNLV leaves the Mountain West, it is a death blow. There is likely no way to remain a conference if you lose UNLV. And I think if the Pac-12 gets UNLV, you're going to see a domino effect. I think the Mountain West is in real trouble. I think that there are not a lot of places to go. And frankly, I don't know that expanding with the Dakota schools, I don't know that you can reach across and try to find other options, because if you lose UNLV, you're going to lose Air Force. I don't know where you go here. This is scary times if you are the Mountain West. And what did I say several weeks ago? Not to keep saying I told you so, but we did a whole hour on this idea that the Pac-12 was in the middle of a hostile takeover of the Mountain West Conference.
Right.
I think that played out in full display yesterday.
Well, and I think the Pac-12 is that group of leadership and that group of minds thought that they could simply bully people and play hardball. And I think that, sometimes that strategy works, but there are a lot of times where that'll backfire on you, especially when you have a weak selling strategy. And that, I'm telling you, is the core of all the issues in this situation.
Yes.
We would be having a different conversation if, once again, as I've said multiple times, if you had 4 or 5 power schools that were the concrete foundation of this conference. But you don't have that. You have 2 what were power schools that got left behind in college football realignment, and now are desperately attempting to recreate a conference that doesn't have them traveling across the country. And I think I understand why they want to do that, but you have to put yourself in the shoes of the UNLVs of the world. You look at this Memphis and Tulane situation, ultimately, it doesn't make sense to be flying across the country when your situation's good right now. Like Tulane, without any help, has been more relevant on the football field in the last couple of years. And they've shown their grit and their wherewithal against power schools. They've done that. We've seen that repeatedly. So to me, I just look at this and I say, hey, like, you got to come with more value if you're the Pac-12. And I don't know how you do that. I don't know where that comes from or where you're going to create that. That's the hard part.
Well, and I think when we're talking about what's next, you got to look at the FCS. And I think the thing that before we get into who in the FCS or where in the FCS, I want to remind you, the rules changed last year to go from FCS, which let's call it Division II, to FBS, which is Division I. It's $5 million minimum. That is a lot of money if you're North Dakota State, South Dakota State, if you are Weber State, if you are Sac State, Sacramento State. $5 million to then go and pay a minimum of $20 million a year in profit sharing. You think about the money that's involved in all of this. If you choose to play at the highest levels, if you choose to profit share, the money that we are talking about, it's $5 million just to show up to play a game. And then the infrastructure cost, the cost of insurance, the cost of humanity, the cost of a larger roster, the cost of more coaches, the cost of more tutors and infrastructure for players, health and well-being, safety, nutrition, training table, weight rooms, all of the money that you have to invest to compete at the FBS level that you simply don't have to spend at the FCS level makes jumping for Sacramento State a significant expense. We're talking about somewhere in the order of $50 million worth of an investment to go from FCS to FBS. That's a lot of money if you're the Dakota schools. If you are somebody that's in the Missouri Valley, that's a lot of money. And you start looking at the teams that are in like the Big Sky, who are targets. We're talking about, Idaho. We're talking about Sacramento State. Are they capable of cutting a $50 million check? I don't know that is worth it. And I go back to the AAC situation. Is it worth it for Memphis, Tulane, and USF to go to the Pac-12 with no assurance that you're going to have a better TV deal, with no assurance that you're going to make more money, with no assurance that you're going to have a greater opportunity to get access to the college football playoff? The answer is simply no. So if you are the Idaho Vandals, is it worth it for you to then turn and go from FCS to FBS for the Mountain West or for the Pac-12? And I am here to tell you, I do not believe that it is.
Yeah, and I think that again, I think that's what's hard, is that it doesn't make sense for schools at this level to do it, but then it also doesn't make sense for schools who are already on your current level to do it. And so you're sitting here, and a lot of people are speculating, well, isn't this just a thing where the Pac-12 has to, fake it till they make it, and then hopefully they can poach some ACC schools? And I'm sitting here saying, if your best strategy is relying on the ACC to melt down inside of 5 years, I think that's a really dangerous strategy, because I'm not confident that it will. And frankly, I think with the behavior out of Florida State and Clemson with trying to settle these suits because they're tired of paying all this money, it's trending towards it's not going to burn down. So that's why I keep saying, like, I think that looking at FCS schools, I think is very time consuming, and I'm not sure that it gets you where you want to go. Now, I'm sure
I would agree with that.
I'm sure there are some FCS schools who have been saving their pennies, putting together a fund so that when the time is right, they have the option financially to take that step should they want to.
But is that where the Mountain West should go here? Because you're looking at now, I think it's $156 million that the Mountain West is going to rake in for exit fees and penalties,
right?
Which they are now turning around and redistributing. And this is I think this is pretty common knowledge, but I was told yesterday that this is their strategy of keeping schools. Hey, UNLV, here's a $25 million windfall for you. Hey, Air Force, here's a $25 million windfall for you. because they're getting all of this money and redistributing it across their brands to keep the conference intact. Because if you lose Las Vegas in the Mountain West, you're done.
Yeah.
It's over. And I think that is the critical fight here.
But
and
if you're UNLV, you're not going to leave that type of money on the table and a reliable TV deal to go to a huge question mark in this new conference.
And again, I point out UNLV has played this perfectly. We talked about this last week. I think UNLV has had a plan all along. And they have an invitation from the Pac-12. They have a commitment to sign a new grant of rights sitting on the table, which they have not signed. Neither, I am told, neither is Air Force. And UNLV has played this perfectly. And to all my boys in Vegas, I understand you guys are nervous. Don't be nervous. I think UNLV is operating right now. And I think UNLV is operating at a very a level that is wise, that is thoughtful, and actually by being not in a hurry to jump, I believe they're being aggressive in their negotiations because they understand if you're the last major market in the conference, you have leverage over both the Pac-12 and the Mountain West.
Right. Yeah.
And I think if you're the Mountain West, here's the other question that I would ask. And again, it was brought to me by a really smart guy that I talked to in TV who said, how many universities at the FCF level have the facilities to compete in the Mountain West?
Right.
Because if you look around the Mountain West, you actually have some really good facilities in the Mountain West. It's not like you're playing in front of 5,000 fans. Who are you, UConn?
Right.
Right? It's not like you're UConn. You have good facilities. So the question is, if you look around the FCS, there's not a whole lot of universities that have the ability to compete, not only spend $50 million to bump yourself up, but, and I'll look it up, like look at Sac State. What is their, anybody want to guess what their football stadium holds?
Maybe 20, maybe.
Hornet Stadium has a seating capacity of 21,195.
Yeah.
Do you want a 21,195 seat stadium in your conference?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's not a great look, but I also again, if you're the Mountain West, you're having to battle what you want or don't want versus what you have to do. I mean, your choices are no longer your own. I mean, you have to do what it's going to take to survive. And so, again, like, yeah, that's not ideal. You don't want 21,000 seat stadiums in the conference, but you also lost the major investment that Boise State made in their facilities, right? You're losing them. And so it's kind of this thing where it's like, again, if you're the Mountain West, and I think your point about UNLV is spot on with this, like whether you're the conference or you're a university, you have to measure, hey, how much of a step back is the Mountain West going to take here with these schools leaving versus how much do we value that $25 million windfall that we're going to get and keeping the current TV deal that we have in place and keeping some semblance of reliability. Because again, I can't emphasize this enough. The margins for these schools are not wide. They are tiny margins. And the changing and going to something that's unknown, I think is a very dangerous game to be playing if you're UNLV or Sac State or, whoever.
And then there's one other school that nobody's thinking about, and it's not Gonzaga. Because I think I've been doing a lot of digging on why is Gonzaga willing to join the Pac-12 but not the Big 12?
Gonzaga.
Because Brett Yormark likes Gonzaga.
Right.
I like Gonzaga.
And I respect Gonzaga a lot.
Gonzaga.
Right? It's Gonzaga. I'm just having fun. I know it's Gonzaga.
Don't lose your minds, okay? It's a joke, all right? Thank you.
And, the prevailing opinion is that they don't want to be in a power conference, that they understand that their basketball program is probably the best G5 program in the country. And I would agree with that. If outside of UConn, and I don't think anybody views UConn as a G5 program, I would agree that in smaller league basketball, I think Gonzaga is the best team in the country. Why? And we have talked about this, and I think you brought this up. Why would you leave the comfort of the NCAA tournament to go to the Big 12?
Yeah, well,
Because it doesn't make you more money.
Well, I think, going to the tournament, obviously, just like for like, doesn't make you more money. But I think the thing
But if you're in the Big 12, is Gonzaga a lock for the NCAA tournament?
I mean, it's obviously a different conference. It's obviously a tougher slate, but I think that
a tougher slate.
I think that Mark Few and Gonzaga have a very strong basketball program, and I think that let's say you miss the tournament 1 year. Well, that's going to be made up with the TV deal, and I know you're not getting a full share in the Big 12. I understand that you're getting a half share, but even a half share, you're still pushing what, 18 mil, 15 mil, somewhere in there. So I understand that you have the free pass in your current situation every year, and that's fine. But at some point, it's going to be valuable to be in a power conference, and you can't let that opportunity pass you by.
In the WCC, the West Coast Conference, you have won the regular season championship in 2013, 2014, Gonzaga, 2015, 2016, 2017. Do I need to keep going? 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, and 23. For real. Every year. The tournament champions, 2013, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, they lost in 2019. 2020, 1, 2, and 3. Your auto bid into the NCAA tournament. You're getting those tournament shares. Join the Big 12. I don't think Gonzaga makes the tournament with that kind of certainty every year. It will cost them money. It will cost them money to join. And I think the money you lose not making the NCAA tournament and playing multiple rounds and not going to the NCAA tournament, that's not an option. And I think that's why I agree with the folks that I've spoken to who say they don't want to miss the NCAA tournament even once.
Right.
And I agree with that. Now, the other university that came up yesterday is an old friend of the program. Somebody we're intimately familiar with. Who do you think I'm going to say?
I don't know.
Grand Canyon University is an absolute target of the Pac-12.
As they should be.
And they have spoken because it's an elite athletic department. And I know people, and I love our Phoenicians. We have, Phoenix is our third largest market on the show. I love the city of Phoenix in the state of Arizona. And Grand Canyon University does not get the love they deserve as an athletic department in that state and in that town. They don't play football. Totally understand that. I think I can make an argument, and I think Bobby Hurley at Arizona State would back me up, and I think Mike Krzyzewski at Duke could back me up. Grand Canyon University is one of the best home court advantages in all of college basketball.
Yes, it is.
And their facilities, their baseball program, their soccer, all of it, it's elite. Now it is a Christian university, and I think it is one of those universities that had a stigma about who are you? University of Phoenix, right? Like one of those online. It is a great institution, and they are a business operation at Grand Canyon. Yeah. And they are deserving of, in my opinion, they're deserving of being in a conference like the Mountain or the Pac-12.
Well, and I think it's really funny too. Like in football, obviously you don't want a 20,000 seat stadium in your conference, but in basketball, we can have a different conversation, because in basketball, you can have a little bit smaller of a situation happening, but if it feels big and it plays big and it's a intimidating environment to come into, you want that on TV. You want that, you want that in your conference. And I can tell you, we've walked that court. We've walked that facility. We've been in that building during a game. And it's intimidating. And
it's 7,000 seats.
Yeah. And it's a really nice stadium.
It is a great place to play basketball.
Yeah.
And I think that Grand Canyon and Gonzaga will end up joining the conference. I think that is going, I would be surprised if that did not happen. But now to the elephant in the room. What's the TV deal?
Right.
And I say this because again, as I reported last week, and now everybody else is reporting, it's the Pac-12 TV deal that they have somewhat of a handshake deal with the CW that I think now is a bit in flux because you didn't get Memphis, USF, and Tulane. And everybody laughed at me about USF. Don't laugh anymore because they absolutely offered USF. And USF said no.
Yeah, I think that's why USF was on the joint statement yesterday.
Yes.
I think that's why those 4 schools came together and put that statement out. And I think,
correct.
I think one, maybe like a sidebar to the whole conversation, is your options for a TV deal, because I don't think people are thinking about streaming yet as a mainstream option for a TV deal. And I think this Pac-12 conference needs to be considering
it has
that.
to be.
I mean, I and I don't just mean YouTube TV. I mean like the emergence of the fast channel space. I mean, obviously Amazon Prime Video. I don't know how much you guys look into this stuff, but I've been looking into it more because I've been hearing about it more. And fast channels are coming. That if you don't know what that is, you should look into it, because Amazon Prime Video is trying to grow they basically what companies like Amazon in their Prime Video space want is they want you to treat their platform the way we treat YouTube TV. They want you to eventually, down the line, what they're trying to make happen is, hey, we want you to understand that Prime Video isn't just like a place where you get a movie or like episodic TV show. You can come here and you can get live sports, and not just Thursday night football. You can get these different offerings. And so
I think
this conference, you got to look at that.
I think Amazon Prime wants to be the number one choice for sports streaming.
Yeah.
I think that is their only goal. And I think that the CW has a decision to make. I have to believe they get a deal done. But now I think you're under $10 million a year, because it doesn't almost matter who you add. Even if you add Gonzaga, Grand Canyon, and UNLV, right? If you add those 3 and you find one more to go with that, let's say if you get UNLV, you get Air Force, and you're at 10. You're missing a major market. You're not in Florida. You're not in multiple time zones. You now remain a West Coast centric brand, which for the CW is fine, but that's going to cost you money. And I think you look at what we had been told by well-placed sources is that the Pac-12 has a handshake agreement with the CW that they would extend and grow their deal, and that Amazon Prime is interested in writing a deal with the Pac-12 to be their streaming partner. I don't know that you can say that anymore. And I think they've got to get to a minimum of 8, and they would really like to get to 10 in the Pac-12 as soon as possible.
Right.
And if they're able to do that, and my question is it 10 football members? Because I can see adding Grand Canyon, GCU, and Gonzaga as basketball onlys. I can see doing that. But if you only have 8 football members, is that enough to get you $10 million a year? And we're going to find out. And I think the answer is it is not.
Mm-hmm.
If you only have 8 football members, I think you are looking at between 8 and I don't know that you get to 10. I certainly don't think the CW is paying $10 million a year for a West Coast centric brand that includes smaller markets.
Mm-hmm.
And that's only if you get UNLV.
Yeah. I mean, I would be curious as part of that conversation to know, what the Pac-12 is going to do as far as branding and how much effort's going to be put into like their social media presences and because they're going to have to do that stuff. When you're a smaller brand, like you got to put more time into, branding yourself and getting out to people on their phones, right? I mean, it's like the Pac-12 is notoriously over their history been brutal at that, and I think that's got to change. And obviously, we've seen over the last 2 weeks or so that their Twitter game's been a little bit better. They've improved in some areas, so we'll see. My main point is that at some point there will be a TV deal that gets done that no longer includes, networks per se. It more just is like, hey, if the home of Pac-12 football or Pac-12 athletics is Amazon Prime Video. The home of this is here. Like, that's where I think we're headed. And I'm curious, how much of that, when you talk about them not being able to get 10 a year, is that 8 from the CW and 2 from Amazon? Like, is that what we're talking about to try to get to 10? Like, that's what I think is interesting.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting. There's a lot of unknowns here. I think I don't believe it's a $10 million deal. I don't believe it's a $10 million deal. And I think that it is certainly going to be interesting to see how are you able to play yourself into a spot where you can leverage it. I think that's what it comes down to. All right, let's get your comments in here. As always, our comment section is presented by Prize Picks. Prize Picks, the best daily fantasy app in the business. You guys use the promo code Monty, 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 to earn yourself that bread. You deposit $5 into a new Prize Picks account using the promo code Monty. They're going to give you 50 more. You can play the entire football season unless you're me and you lose constantly in football.
Yeah.
Can baseball never end? Because I would just like to point out that I am kicking ass in baseball. I hope you all get on board. I told you that the only guy you needed to know about, I don't know why I'm talking in this accent. I told you the only guy you needed to know about last night was my damn left fielder, Kyle Schwarber.
Yeah, Schwarber.
Now, you and I went different avenues.
Right.
Frankly.
Right.
Here.
Marty.
I took Kyle Schwarber for half a home run. Of course I took more. He was playing the Cubs.
Duh, idiots.
Duh. So I went half a home run and he hit more.
Uh-huh.
How did you play Kyle Schwarber last night?
I went more than 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. And of course he went more because he hit a bomb.
Are the Philadelphia Phillies capable? I guess that's a stupid question. Can they win the World Series with this club?
I mean, I think they're capable. Yeah, I think they're in any series they're playing. I also think, just like any other sport, baseball is very momentum based. I mean, typically in the playoffs, you have teams that might be really talented but are playing bad baseball. They just happen to be in a lower point of their season as a squad, and so they get bounced in the playoffs. So I mean, again, it's this whole thing where I think, what do we have, like 5 games left in 5 days left in the season here, whatever it is. Like, you are trying, all you're trying to do at this point is rest your arms and play decent baseball. That's all you're trying to do.
Well, looking at the schedule, I think first, let's do Prize Picks first. I think last night, my guy, Kyle Schwarber last night came through with the home run. But I also think that my guy Aaron Nola getting 7 Ks when he was at 4.5. Yes. Yeah, that was phenomenal.
See, and again, the formula works. The formula that a good old Marty always gives you works, right? Which is, you're going to play 3 picks. You're going to flex play, so you only have to win 2 out of 3. And using that formula last night, I won $25 on the baseball pick. And then my football pick for Monday Night Football came through.
I don't want to talk about football.
Had Jamar Chase on a demon for half a rushing and receiving touchdown. Buddy had 2. Jaden Daniels, more than 198.5 passing yards. Clearly, he had more than that. And then, of course, Zach Moss having 1 rushing and receiving touchdown. $20 flex play, 1 all 3. You win $60. So if you just play 2 out of 3, you're going to win a lot of money.
Yeah, and I lost everything on football. I mean, everything on football last night. Ridiculous. But that's the beauty of Prize Picks. 2 or 3 selections on a flex play have to win. Now, Seiya Suzuki finally let me down last night for the first time in like 6 weeks. I had him at 3.5 more hits, runs, and RBIs. Nah, bro.
Right.
Nah, bro. That did not happen. But I still won. On a $25 flex play, I still cashed because I got 2 or 3. That's the beauty of Prize Picks. And again, Caleb Williams, half a yard passing is the promo in the NFL this week. It is super easy. Hook it up. Download the Prize Picks app on your phone. Use the promo code Monty. You get a $5 deposit. You make a $5 deposit in a new Prize Picks account. They'll give you 50 more using the promo code Monty. Hello, everybody. Ukrainian mail order bride industry is booming.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a name.
Hey, what's up, Zelensky?
Yo, he's
What's
also
up?
our newest member.
Hey, Vladdy, what's up?
Hey, Vladdy. He gives us $5 to say, if I were the Pac, I would just add both Nevada and UNLV for the 10th team. Then Gonzaga and Grand Canyon as non-football members makes geographic sense. The problem is UNLV has been offered and has not said yes.
Because it's not a no-brainer for them.
Oh, I don't think it's a no-brainer for anybody doing this. I think this is joining the Pac-12 right now is a massive risk. A massive risk. And if you are, Washington State, because remember who's already in. And ask yourself if you're on this list right here. If you are on this list and you are Boise State, Colorado State, Fresno State, and San Diego State, and you're the newest members, do you feel like you made a good decision today? Now that Memphis, Tulane, and USF have said no. Do you feel like you've made a good decision here? I don't think you can say that because the other school that I heard about yesterday was Rice. Is Rice worth fighting for if you are the Pac-12?
No.
I don't know that they are. If we're being honest right now, Rice is not going to leave the AAC to join the Pac-12. That seems like it's out the window now.
Right.
And if you look at the universities that have committed to staying in the AAC, you don't have a play here. In the state of Texas, I don't believe you have a play here. I truly don't. I think you are, with this group on your screen right now, I think you're in a very difficult spot.
Agree.
And I don't know how you come back from that. So when you talk about, geographic sense, I think they'd love to add UNLV and Reno. Getting them to say yes to that is going to be really difficult. Because if you're the Mountain West and you're offering, and I was told it's $25 million in a one-time windfall payout to sign a new grant of rights in the Mountain West, how are you, UNLV, saying no to that? Man, I think that's a difficult thing to say no to.
That's tough.
And if you're the top half of this conference, if you're Air Force, you're going to say yes to that. Because again, look what's left in the Mountain West, folks. It is San Jose State. Is that worth fighting for? Probably not. UNLV, Hawaii, and I think Hawaii is a football member only. Nevada, Wyoming, Air Force, and New Mexico. And now New Mexico becomes a huge, because again, what are we talking about with New Mexico? A 30,000 seat football stadium. The problem is New Mexico doesn't win football games. New Mexico doesn't go to major bowls.
Right.
New Mexico does not compete at a high level. And if you had gotten UTSA and Tulane, New Mexico made sense. If you weren't able to get Memphis in South Florida, New Mexico made sense. Do they make sense now? If you're the Pac-12, yeah, I don't think they do. I don't think they do. And if you're New Mexico, why are you leaving the comfort of the Mountain West to go to the Pac-12?
Hey, you're not. You're not.
That doesn't make a lot of sense. And I think if you're the Mountain West, you're going to fight for New Mexico now.
You have to.
Right? Joseph Lueras for $5. Well, look at that. Tell me why New Mexico is not in. Top 50 markets, same winning percentage and more bowl wins than Colorado State over the last 10 years in football. Average $15K per game for basketball.
Yeah, but I let's not spin this. Colorado State's more relevant than New Mexico is right now.
I don't think there's any question about it.
I don't disagree with what you're saying there with bowl wins and numbers. I don't disagree. Numbers are numbers. They're undisputed. But when you talk about relevancy and momentum and trying to create the best situation here and today, Colorado State's clearly more valuable than New Mexico would be right now. And I think that's tough. I don't like saying that, but I do think it's true. And And, again, just like you said, I think if you're the Mountain West, you're fighting tooth and nail for New Mexico. You need that. Like, you got to keep them.
Yeah, I have a hard time believing, and again, this is just me. I have a hard time believing that New Mexico is a difference maker. And I know you don't love that. I understand that is something that you're probably going to be frustrated about. As I text with people during the show, which is completely rude, and I
But
apologize.
I don't think you get to have it, both ways. And this is, with all due respect, like I've taken a ton of heat on the show for saying this multiple times over the last year. Said this during the Pac-12 situation, saying it now. If you're not relevant, if you're not winning with the opportunity you're given, right? Like, so if you're not winning on scale, if you're not dominating the current situation you're in, and you're not relevant, and people aren't like, oh yeah, hey, New Mexico, yeah, probably not in.
Yeah.
Oh, Colorado State. Yeah, you guys remember that matchup last year where they beat the hell out of Shador on the sideline, and then he was out. And then, remember this year when Shador wouldn't shake Buddy's hand, and then like they're in the cycle. Like people are talking about
I agree.
them. Like people know who Jay Norvell is. People know that program. And so when you talk about relevancy, like they may not be winning or beating Colorado regularly, but they're in that game and people want to watch, and it produces good viewership, which ultimately, as we're finding out with Colorado, may be more valuable than wins right now, given your situation. So again, with all due respect, I just don't think that New Mexico has that kind of water, man. That's not, they just don't. That's just how it works.
And I texting with a TV guy that's watching the show, like I think it's a salient point. How much does your stadium hold? I think if you're the Pac-12, you've already ingested small stadiums. That's why I don't know where the Pac-12 goes here, because isn't the Pac-12 putting themselves off as, hey, we're building the biggest, baddest G5 brand in the country?
Well, what other choice do you have? You don't have a way to say, hey, yeah, we're a power conference. And
I agree.
That's why I think the strategy maybe always was, and maybe we just didn't recognize it initially. Like when I say we, like the public, like the greater media didn't quite understand it. I think now more than ever, it's very clear that they don't really have another route. It's right now, my feeling is hey, we're going to build this foundation. We're going to get 10 teams together. We're going to build our bottom line here. And then we're going to play football this year in basketball and athletics. And then from there, let's see where we can grow. But I agree. I think the only thing that throws a wrench into the whole situation is if they were to have the opportunity to go and get Stanford and Cal back, if the ACC were to melt down, which I just don't think it will. And I think there's a lot of people hoping for that. I wouldn't be hoping for that. I just don't think that's great business.
And I was told that Florida State is trying to aggressively settle with the ACC. Like, and the word that was used was aggressively settle.
Yeah.
To try and move on with their business. But that settlement doesn't include exiting. That settlement is a merit-based revenue system. And that means the ACC is not going to melt down. And if you're Stanford and Cal, I don't think you're joining the new Pac-12 or the Mountain West in any event.
I mean, think about, like, just quick sidebar on this. Like, FSU and Clemson are taking their dog bone back to the doghouse and need to just be quiet for the rest of the year. Like,
yeah.
Like that's what you've done to yourself. Like they brought this on themselves. Like you continue to talk a bunch of trash and be a pain in the ass and make all this noise. And then again, just like I said, not win on the football field this year. And I understand. I'm not even necessarily surprised you're not as good as you were last year. You lost a ton of talent. Like there's a lot of things that go into that, but the timing couldn't be worse. So like people who are shocked that Florida State's trying to settle, don't be shocked. They need to settle. They're not making money this year.
I would agree. All right, Calford, 10 more Monty Show memberships.
Let's go, baby.
Calford, way to go. Jerry Davis, the newest member of the Monty Show.
Oh, Jerry.
Let's go. Really appreciate the support, you guys. $1.99. Get your comments highlighted and read. You know that predominantly and overwhelmingly, we only read member comments on the show because thankfully, and I appreciate all of you, we get a ton of comments every day. It is what this show is about and what powers us, so I appreciate that. For $9.99 a month, $10, you can join the members only group on Instagram, which is a really good group of dudes. except for Jake, who really curates that group. But you can deal with that. You can go ahead and add Jake on Instagram, SLC Jake. He'll put you in that group as long as you join the members only group. So appreciate that very much. Jerry, welcome to the bunch. Jimmy Otson, CW and Pac knew that USF, Tulane, and Memphis were long shots. I don't think they knew that. I don't agree with that. They have a handshake deal with the CW and streaming. I think the Pac-12 thought they had Tulane, and I think they thought they had Memphis.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, maybe Pernetti's not getting enough credit, the commissioner of the AAC, because when we reported it last week, a lot of you mocked the AAC's ability to keep that conference together.
Mm-hmm.
And the private money promises that are being made in the AAC is what's kept that league together.
Well, and again, I know I referenced this earlier. Look at the statement that these schools put out together.
Yes.
Like if you consider the way that the Pac-12 put their statements out, it was very different than what you're seeing here. The thing that stood out to me is not even what you said in the statement. Just visually look at this. You're sending a message of unity with how this statement looks. Hey, all 4 logos at the top. We are the American Athletic Conference. That's cool. Whatever you wrote in tiny letters there, nobody gives a damn about that. We're looking at the top right there, and you saying, hey, we're together, we're unified, and we're not leaving this conference for something that is being, sold to us as this new car smell that frankly doesn't have a lot of ways to justify, that it's greener pasture, that it's a better place.
I love doing this. Look at the flex we have on this crowd. We told you that it was UTSA and Tulane and South Florida and Memphis, and how much crap and flack did we
Monty,
catch?
You don't know anything about football in the state of Texas.
What do you know?
This is a Big Ten show.
Oh, that feels good to look at that. The Big Lubbock. Hello. Did you know Texas Tech is 8-2 when Taj Brooks rushes for at least 100 yards? I had no idea.
Does it make you feel better looking at those numbers after you watching your football team this year? Does that make you feel better?
I'm just going to say again, Taj Brooks is the best running back in the Big 12. James, stadium guy and lover of Big 12.
Now, really quick. Thanks for coming back today. I know you tweeted at us last night. I appreciate it.
My man was feeling a little stress.
Yeah. Well, he was a little salty yesterday.
A lot.
And a lot. And it's okay, dude. I appreciate that you're back. I appreciate you're here. Thank you for your comment with whatever this comment says.
I agree. And furthermore, I think that I feel like we as a showgrum here, we love you, James. I would love to see Utah State in the Pac-12. They won the Mountain West in 2021, so they're capable of winning.
Dude, this whole investigation though, like I agree. I don't doubt that they're like on the field they're a fit. Like it's fine. Like they're definitely a fit. But this whole Title IX, investigation that's going on, I'm curious how they're going to spin adding Utah State, because we know that the original bylaws in this Pac-12 said that you can't add a member that's under investigation the way Utah State's under investigation. So a lot of people think, hey, they're going to create new bylaws. They're going to create a new set of rules that permits adding a school in Utah State's position, which is fine. That's fine if you want to do that. But I just think it's really interesting that Utah State's getting added sort of in a back alley way, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we're not talking about them, but yeah, they're going to be in the
conference.
Yeah,
I think Utah State in this scandal, this is a mistake at this time.
Yeah.
To add Utah State. Utah State's a quality institution, but the allegations from the Department of Justice about blatant malfeasance and just ignoring Title IX. There's no way to come back from that, in my opinion. I think it speaks to the level of desperation. Willie Wilson, Joe Burrow, and Jaden Daniels both played at LSU and won Heisman's. Great game on Monday Night Football. There you go. Christopher Shannon. What do you mean?
What
What are you
what does that
umming
mean,
and
dude?
awing over?
Yeah.
North Texas and Texas State.
Right.
Okay. Nathan John, as a Filipino man, I can say without doubt that Rice is worth fighting for. I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you're not going to get an AAC team. No, that's not going to happen. I am good with 21 times a month, no rings, no commitments. We're really going back to 21 times a month,
bro.
I do. It is
Well
very
done,
well
dude.
done. As we talk Pac-12 expansion, college football right here on the Monty Show, presented by our good friends at The Advocates, theadvocates.com. When you're in a pinch, friends, make sure that you are ready. Make sure that you are prepared because when you need an injury attorney, it is usually one of the worst days of your life. That's why you go to The Advocates.
When you've been injured in an accident, you need a lawyer, and you deserve an advocate. Insurance companies don't always play fair, but we can keep them in check. Most cases settle out of court, but we'll take your case to trial if necessary. You deserve an advocate.
The Advocates at theadvocates.com. Clear, risk-free advice. And the best part about The Advocates at theadvocates.com, you never pay a penny out of pocket. In fact, you don't pay the advocates unless and until they win your case. Let's roll through some comments. Oak State James, I didn't tell you yesterday I was driving back to Texas from Kansas and it poured. I had to stop several times. I got home at 7:30 on Monday morning.
Dude, when you're driving, like when we drive down to St. George, let's say, when it rains, man, in those wide open spaces, it really opens up, man.
Yep, totally agree. Justin Bemis, FSU wanting a merit-based raise, wouldn't they owe the AAC money this year? Seriously, I think it is.
Well, ultimately, I think they got what they wanted, right? I mean, it wasn't the genesis of the whole issue that you were making the conference all this money, but you weren't getting your fair share? I mean, what if they all agreed to? Hey, we're going to divvy out distribution based on performance. I mean, that's where the ACC is going, and I think where college athletics is going. So if FSU, let's say next week comes out and says, "Oh man, like we're having to settle and we're unhappy still," I just think you don't have any more credibility to say that you're unhappy. Like, you got what you wanted.
I agree.
You got more money. Like, please, for the love of God, stop talking and let's focus on winning football games.
Yes, it's rough. It is absolutely rough. And I mean, you're looking at something, and it's an interesting comment, Justin, because I think you're looking at something now. And if you're just tuning into the show and we talk about this Pac-12 Mountain West Conference situation, I think one of the things that's so interesting is that we're looking at a situation where the Mountain West may not exist. I mean, if you lose UNLV, this league is done.
Right.
This league is done, and disillusion and folding is a real possibility at that point. And I think that would be a crying shame because the Mountain West did the Pac-12 a solid and did a scheduling agreement with them. And for their troubles, that nice guy's going to finish last because the Pac-12 came and poached everybody.
Right.
And is it the wrong thing for the Pac-12 to do, right or wrong? It's business, and it's what had to be done. If you're the Pac-12, you did what you had to do.
Right.
If you
bless you, sir.
Excuse me. If you're the Mountain West, it sucks.
Yeah.
Because you got eaten by a two-team conference.
But shouldn't this serve as warning to all the other G5 conferences? Like,
yes,
at any time, anywhere, there's a chance that your conference will get eaten alive by a power or what wants to be a power conference trying to expand or put itself back together or whatever the given situation is, right?
Yes.
And I think that is the lesson that I would hope that other conferences have learned, that, hey, it's dangerous to try to negotiate with power conferences and power schools.
Old friends come back to haunt you because, again, and if you're just tuning in, by the way, we'll get to NFL in 5 minutes. But I think the Scott Barnes part of this is huge. Scott Barnes was the athletic director at Utah State. He is now the athletic director at Oregon State. And he absolutely is a power player in that conference and how they're realigning. And again, Utah State is under investigation by the Department of Justice. for Title IX violations. Willful. I believe the verbiage, and I want to get this verbiage right because I think this is a really important point in all of this. When you look at the way that investigation is going down, one of the things, and I'm looking for the story, substantial noncompliance is the verbiage that the DOJ used when they put Utah State on notice that they are under investigation for substantial noncompliance of Title IX regulations. That's not something that's small. And when we're talking about allegations of sexual assault in the football program and the reporting process and how serious you took those allegations, this is a major scandal.